before I forget. The way that we did it last time was we started with question in capital letters. I think that's what we did. It just said, just type question in capital letters. This way you can keep chatting, but then it's really easy for me to find the questions, okay? And today's topic is self-care and energy. So yes, everything goes back to law of attraction and manifestation. And really, it's all about self-care in the end when it comes to that. So I want to talk about that today. Who has a question? Does anyone in live have a question? Because there are a couple of questions that were emailed in, one in particular, but I like to give live people first dibs. So start typing your questions in, but basically I want to keep the focus away from basic LOA and more about how to take care of yourself and your energy. Okay. So when we're in alignment, we're feeling good, right? We've all experienced what it feels like to be in alignment, even if for some of us, it may feel like it only happens randomly. It doesn't have to happen randomly. It's something we're responsible for. It is actually our only responsibility. So that's what I want to talk about today. And that can be anything that falls under the umbrella of self-care. So it could be your physical self-care. It can be your mental self-care, your emotional self-care, things like boundaries, how you deal with relationships in your life, in your business, with your bank account. So anything and everything under the umbrella of self-care is welcome. Okay. So if no one has any questions yet, I'm going to get the party started with an emailed one, and I'll wait for you guys to put your questions in. So this first question is from Natalie, and she writes, I'm not sure. Oh, she's saying, I'm not sure I can get on the call. Okay. She writes, how might we find ways to find self-love and not make it feel like a practice and hard work? I struggle to make myself a priority, even though I know deep down I'm worthy and of value. My subconscious won't let me believe it. So this is a really potent question. It's actually a good question to start off with, because here's the thing, guys. How many of you, type in the chat right now, how many of you want to prioritize self-care, or you know you should prioritize self-care, or you even try to prioritize self-care, but it actually does feel like a struggle? So it feels like something that should feel good, but feels like a job, or you feel like you can prioritize it when everything else is taken care of. So, your business is taken care of, your family is taken care of, all of your responsibilities are taken care of, and then you feel like you can relax and take care of yourself. But as soon as, something starts to happen, you need to launch again, or something stressful happens, it goes right out the window. So how many people can relate to this? For sure. Awesome. Yes. I am not surprised. I wish I was, but I'm not. Yes. Okay, good. So with Natalie's question, what she's saying is really important, because yes, not all the time, sometimes, but when I stress, I can't. And that's something that I talk about in my free class that I do for my Easy Money program. If you guys haven't done that class yet, actually you should, and you're interested in what I'm about to say, and you're feeling this way, sign up at easymoney.com, EASE-Y money.com, because I am doing it again soon, and I really go into depth on what I'm about to say. So whatever we value is what we prioritize. Okay. And it feels like we know, yes, we should make ourselves number one, oxygen mask, fill your own cup, all of that good shit that we hear all of the time. Right. And we may even do it. Like I was saying, like, okay, I have money right now. My bank account is full. I just launched my engagement and my business is high. Things are going well. Now I can book that massage and take my time in the morning and organize myself and face my shit and clean up and do all the things I need to do for myself now that everything out there is okay. And then when the shit hits the fan, or that bank account starts to dwindle, or we start to feel like, oh no, I have to get money again, I have to make money again, or, I need to bring in new people for my business, and the stress comes up, right? Then all of that self-care goes out the window. You're not actually valuing yourself. So if you truly valued yourself, if you truly valued self-care, that would remain priority no matter what. For example, in my own life, I know I recognize a lot of you, and I'm sure you've heard me talk about coffee time. So coffee time is my morning ritual that actually became more of a lifestyle after doing all this work on myself. But it used to be my morning ritual, no matter what, non-negotiable, no matter what was going on, from way back when I was 19, all the way through my fashion career when it was very stressful and very busy. For the first hour in the morning, I would take that time for myself. Sometimes I would be so tired that I would literally just be sipping my coffee and staring at a wall. Other times it was for visualization or journaling or really whatever I want. There were no rules. It was me time. And I prioritized that time. And even though I only had it for what felt like the fastest hour in the world, especially when I was still in fashion, it was still a priority no matter what was going on. So that was me valuing my needs first and foremost, because even if I was really stressful, that would still happen. Then when I started to get into the entrepreneurial world, coffee time actually got longer, and it actually became the way that I worked. But before I knew that, even when I would feel stressed or feel under pressure to make money or, bring in new clients or figure something out or get something out in the world, when I would feel that sense of urgency, no matter what, coffee time still came about, okay? And there were plenty of other areas in my life where I was not valuing myself and was lacking self-care. This was just one example to show you that when you are truly valuing yourself, I truly valued that myself, saying that this need is a need. It's important. I need it to be able to go through my day. I need it for myself. I am worth this. And I would value that no matter how stressful I felt. So what you value, or it's not just about what you prioritize, it's what you value. And a lot of us are taught that in the personal development world. It's about what you prioritize under stress. So that's what I want you to take away from this little rant, is to look out to see what you're actually prioritizing when you are under stress, because that tells the truth, okay? Now, the other thing that Natalie is touching on in this question is the self-love piece. And I actually know Natalie. She's in my Easy Peasy LOA program, and I've worked with her for a while. And that's why she's asking about self-love, because she's worked with me and she knows that from my teachings that self-care and self-love are two different things. Another thing that we are taught is that they are one and the same, and this is not true. Self-care is the result of self-love. Self-love is you allowing yourself to give yourself what you need, what you desire, let yourself be who you came here to be, express as who you are without conditions, without trying to make yourself a certain way for the outside world because you feel you need to be a certain way or not be a certain way in order to be valuable. So that self-love piece, when you start nailing that, that is what starts to make your self-care piece feel easier. When I'm talking about like the physical self-care and setting up all of those rituals and being able to express yourself. Does this make sense to everyone? Just give me a couple of you, give me a yes in the chat if you're following. Okay. So what she's saying is she's been trying to prioritize self-care and create these self-care practices. But since she's having so much struggle, I would tell her to actually work on the self-love piece. And she kind of knows this. That's why she's kind of asking this as well. So the self-love piece is really about getting honest about what you are truly needing and desiring in each and every moment. And there are many things. This is what I go over in Easy Money, because that's all about that. So if you want to go deeper into what I'm about to say, again, sign up for that class. But there are many tools that I've used to cultivate self-love. And really all you're doing with self-love, guys, is the ultimate secret. So like the secret, the law of attraction It's self-love. When you are valuing yourself and allowing yourself to be yourself as you are meant to be expressed in this world, you are then in a state of allowing. When you're not allowing yourself to meet your needs, or you're manipulating, trying to get them met from the outside, or you're not allowing yourself to want what you really want because you're afraid of how things might shift or what might happen, and you're not allowing yourself to express what wants to be expressed through you, you are in a state of resistance to yourself. Does this make sense? Okay? In a state of resistance to yourself. So when you're trying to restore that self-love, you want to start to look for where you are, where your resistance is, right? Your triggers, your fears, where you procrastinate, where you're a perfectionist, where you feel overwhelmed, where you feel these feelings, as I lovingly refer to them as the red zone, when we start dipping into the red zone and get into those all in, all out patterns that create these feelings, especially if you have your own business or you're an artist or creator. I'm sure you've experienced that resistance, the overwhelm, the wheel spinning, the shots of inspiration, but then you might not follow through or the inspiration dwindles. This is you fighting with you, okay? And that comes from back in the day when we made meanings about ourselves that don't align with who we really are, basically. We made a meaning that we are not good enough in some way. We made a meaning that we are inherently wrong. Maybe we did something wrong and got in trouble, and we made the meaning that we are wrong, not the behavior was wrong, or that wasn't clear to us because we were young. And that sets off a cycle of patterns, okay? I'm not going to go all the way into that. But when you start accepting yourself as you are in each and every moment and following through on that inspiration and trusting those nudges and that intuition that wants you to go toward what's exciting to you, right? And wants you to go toward what is calling you and pulling you and feels appealing to you. As you start trusting that, you are rebuilding that trust within yourself. You are re-loving yourself. You are telling yourself, yes, it's safe to be me. It's safe to trust me. It's safe to allow myself to be who I came here to be. Okay? Does this make sense? So there are a gazillion different ways that you can do that. And one way that you can start doing that, Natalie, this is for you too, is to start becoming aware in the moment of how you are not doing that. Each and every moment, start becoming aware of, what do I really want to do right now? And what am I doing instead because I think I should do this or I have to do this? What do I really want to say right now? But what am I actually saying instead because I feel like I need to be appropriate or professional or a certain way for this person to like me or validate me or to not rock the boat or to not piss someone off? Start to cultivate that awareness, okay? Awareness plus acceptance equals actualization, self-realization, making the self real, okay? So as you start to cultivate that awareness, even if you're not ready to take the step or the step seems too scary to say what you really want to say in that moment, that awareness alone is beginning the transformation. Okay, so if you have to, start with just cultivating the awareness, cultivating the awareness, and then when something feels not so scary or not so big or so high stakes, I want you to allow yourself to follow through with it. Okay, every time you follow through with something that feels true for you, whether it's something you want to create and put out into the world, something you want to say to someone, a boundary you need to set for yourself, or even as simple as you need a fucking glass of water, and for whatever reason you're not getting off the couch to drink that water when your body is saying, I need water, right? Every time you follow through with that, you and that little girl or little boy inside of you starts to become one again. And that trust is being rebuilt. Okay, that's probably one of the easiest tips I can give you for today to start cultivating that. So Natalie, good, Laura, awesome. Natalie, I just want to reinforce this for Natalie and everyone. It can be as simple as the glass of water. It can be as simple as, I know that if I go to bed right now, I'm going to wake up and feel so much better than if I sit on my laptop in my bed, stopping the production of melatonin in my brain and then not getting a good night's sleep, when really I want to wake up every day excited to start my day and feel inspired and creative. I know that this behavior that I'm doing right now is not setting me up for that. So right in this moment, I have a choice to say, is this behavior going to lead to how I want to feel? How do I feel right now? And how do I want to feel? And are you honoring what you really need and want in order to feel the way you want to feel? Make sense? Because this brings me to the next piece. Let me just look at her question again to make sure I hit on everything, which I think I did. Okay, I did. But her question leads to something really important. And that is that when it comes to self-care, yes, your physical self-care is important. And yes, you can change how you feel by, organizing your apartment or your laptop or your business or whatever it is that can make you feel that sense of relief and make you feel better and you're admiring the beauty of your home or whatever it is. Everything physical can do that for you, absolutely. But really, what's happening is it's still coming from your thought. Okay, so self-care is really about caring about how you feel. Whether it's your diet that you want to change, you want to exercise more, all of those physical conditions that we try to control, really it starts with thought. It's thought, and really underneath thought is your belief system, right? Thought that creates an emotional experience. From that emotional experience, you will have a behavior or a do-havior if you're stuck in the red zone where you feel like you need to control something, or you will behave in a certain way or take an action based on a certain feeling. So I'm sure you guys have all felt this. You feel a certain way, right? And when you feel tired, isn't your behavior different than when you feel inspired? When you feel scared, isn't your behavior different than when you feel excited? Can you guys see the difference in that? So it always starts with thought. And the problem that we get into with self-care is so many of us in our society, we're such a doing society, we feel like we need to control the physical conditions. But that's what makes us actually keep repeating that sense of feeling powerless and out of control, because we can't actually control the physical conditions. And if we are, it's only going to last so long. Take it from me. I did it to myself and my body and my whole life for a very long time until my body had it with me and wouldn't let me do it anymore. And I started to manifest dis-ease in my body, right? So you have your thoughts, you have your belief system, then you have your emotional experience with them. And that emotional experience is creating either ease for you, it feels good, you're in alignment, or it creates unease, right? And if that belief system keeps creating more and more emotion that creates unease, your behavior starts to reflect that unease. If you're feeling uneasy about something, you're not all out there. You're not taking risks like maybe you would if you felt that sense of ease and trust in yourself, right? Now, as that happens, that unease that we feel from our emotions, that is stress on the body. So it could be from a trauma that you've had when you were young, something serious, something that seems silly that can still create a trauma in the body, in the emotional body. And that creates an unease, an underlying chronic stress that keeps us going, or that keeps playing in the background in our lives. And we keep repeating those patterns until dis-ease starts to manifest, okay? Whatever is physical is the last step. Whatever is physical in your reality is a reflection or is a manifestation of what you have already manifested from prior focus on certain beliefs and thoughts in your life. Okay? So when we expend energy trying to shift around and change the physical conditions without changing our thoughts or our beliefs, we start to feel drained. And this is why self-care can actually feel like a nightmare. Okay, I discovered, I'm trying to figure out how to best tell the story. I discovered what my body needed to feel its best, probably in like my mid-20s. And for me, that's really low sugar, low starch, and a high protein diet has always worked best for me. When I started being put under a lot of stress or creating a lot of stress in my life through my last career and all of that jazz, I would become more restricting with my diet because the cortisol started to make me gain weight. And really what was happening was my thyroid and my adrenals and all kinds of things were going out of balance. One thing goes out of balance, it's like a domino effect, right? So I started to become even more restrictive. I started to try to control what I was eating even more. Lower carb, more exercise. Both of those things were just exasperating my situation, making it worse. And I was on this vicious cycle, feeling it completely out of control. Why doesn't my body listen to me anymore? But really, I wasn't listening to my body. Okay. It was me trying to control and change the outside circumstances as if they're wrong, instead of allowing what I had already created, going inside, changing the thoughts and beliefs that were creating the emotional experience that was creating what the physical manifestation was. Are you following me on this? Just a couple of you give me a yes if you can. Self-care being a nightmare. Yes. Light bulb moment. Yes. Awesome, guys. Yeah. Self-care should feel good. It should feel good. And it starts in your mind. Okay. So what I realized about myself in that moment was that I was bullying myself. I was being a dictator. So when I talk about the red zone, all in, all out, that's really us either, expending all of our energy trying to create something in the outside world, physically making it happen, right? Trying to control the conditions of the outside. We expend so much energy. We drain ourselves, even though it might look like self-care or what we think self-care should be. And then we go all out because we can't maintain that, because it's not how we're designed. How you are designed is to really live in a state of what I call play. Again, if you've been to my other classes, you probably have heard me talk about this, definitely if you're in my programs, but the play state is really living in flow. It's really living in a state of balance, right? It's living in a state of ease, of truth. I need this right now. Here, have this right now. I need a glass of water. I take care of that water. Or, I give myself the water. I am feeling inspired to create this. I create this right now while I'm in the inspiration. This is starting to not feel inspiring anymore. Now I feel pulled to go do this. I do that now because I'm being led that way. This is your path of least resistance. It's the path to everything that you want. Okay. And this is what I mean when I talk about following your excitement, following your passion, following your joy, following your bliss. It's literally living in flow with the flow of nature. That's how you were designed. We are the only species that tries to go against nature, right? And that is what makes things so hard. Instead of forcing yourself to wake up at 5, run 50 miles, and you might do it one day or never do it because it's so unrealistic and you're beating yourself up for then not doing it, right? That's a vicious cycle. More stress in the body, your outside circumstances are going to start to experience that, right? When you start having a little more self-compassion and allowing yourself to really get in touch with what it is that you need, because a lot of times what we see out there is the best diet or whatever, the best exercise, or we should be having massages 3 times a week and meditating, in the middle of the day, whatever the trends are. Those are things that matched someone else's need in the moment. They worked for someone in the moment. And there's nothing wrong with, learning about that stuff. And if you're drawn to it, of course, learn about it and get into it. But we get so caught up in trying to find the right diet, the right routine, the right way of doing things, instead of just listening to your body in the moment. And the best self-care might be a nap. The best self-care might be to journal, or visualize. The best self-care might be to go take a walk. Maybe you've been behind the computer for way too long and you need to just go take a walk in nature. It could just be to fucking breathe. It's so simple when you start first listening to, getting in touch with your body, and then honoring it in each and every moment, both what she or he needs for energy and then following through on the inspiration, because that inspiration strikes when you are energized. If you are feeling tired or depressed or defeated because you just got triggered online and now you're like, I don't feel like creating anything because this person already did it, or how am I going to make money, or whatever thoughts are going through your head that are making you feel like bloopy and wilted parsley and you just feel so unalive, all of that is leading you to a lack of inspiration, right? And without that inspiration, what starts to bubble up? Fear and stress. Inspiration, no fear, no stress. You are like, I am on fire. I'm on top of the world. I am like the next Steve Jobs. I'm amazing. This is incredible. You want to do everything. No one's triggering you. You're cheering people on. It's a big difference, is it not? Can you relate to what I'm saying? So what my point with that is that your energy, your alignment needs to be number one. Number one. And it can be as simple as 10 minutes to start thinking something that makes you feel better than how you feel right now. Does this make sense? You guys are so quiet. So I don't know if that's a good thing, like you're into what I'm saying, or I lost you. It's fine, because I was just, okay, good. Okay, who has questions now? Now that I gave you, awesome, Laura. Okay, Adam, been having such negative energy lately. I know it's due to my anxiety, which sucks. Okay, it's not, and here's the deal. Is there anything I can do to bring that good energy back without such negative thoughts? So remember, Adam, your anxiety is coming from, there are two kinds of anxieties, okay? Because I've actually experienced both. And this is going to lead me down another rabbit hole, so get ready. We have emotion, which comes from thought and beliefs. And then we have sensations, physical sensations. So in Adam's case, and anyone who experiences anxiety, I used to really bad. I don't at all anymore. And I'm going to tell you why. When I was under a lot of stress and especially restricting myself, and the way that I was eating was also dehydrating me, plus I was drinking tons of Starbucks, and I was really dehydrated, and my blood sugar started to be chronically low. And what this was doing was causing blood sugar drops. My body would produce, would shoot cortisol into my body and adrenaline, because it would think it was, dying, right? To keep my blood sugar up. And I didn't know that at the time. So I would start to feel weird, and it would induce panic attacks, and I would feel anxious and panicky all the time. And then I realized it was a blood sugar thing, and I thought, I'm hypoglycemic, and I didn't think that there was a cure for that. So I would feel anxiety whenever I felt my blood sugar dip. And that is healable if anyone's dealing with it. But what was happening was my body was creating sensations based on the chemicals that were flowing through my body. So I wasn't actually thinking stressful thoughts, right? It wasn't an emotional anxiety. It was a sensational anxiety. So it was like tightness in my chest, my face might start feeling numb, and things would start to freak me out. Then my mind starts to go. Now we're in emotional anxiety, because now I'm like, oh my God, am I having a heart attack? Am I dying? Whatever, calling 911, because my anxiety is starting to freak me out, and I'm going down a negative spiral thinking that I'm dying, which is just perpetuating the anxiety. But it started with a physical sensation. So you can just have anxiety from your thoughts. You've all experienced that, I'm sure, where you start to worry, and that starts to create anxiety in your body. So Adam, I'm saying this because I want to make sure when you talk about been having such negative energy lately. First of all, we don't have energy. We create our energy, okay? So this is not like saying you're doing something wrong, Adam. I'm pointing this out because it gives you your power back. You create your energy. You create your state. This is actually the only power we have, okay? So we create our vibration and our energetic state and how we feel. So Adam, do you feel like your anxiety, when I'm talking about this, is it coming from thought? Is it emotional anxiety, or is it a physical, starts with a physical sensation in your body? Just let me know and keep going. Thoughts, and then it turns to physical. Okay. So is it coming from like worry? Something like that. Yes. Okay. So the antidote to worry is fun. The antidote to worry is joy. So whenever you start to feel worried, let me give you a tool actually, because I know that can feel hard when you're in it. Okay. Fear. Let's talk about fear, because worry is coming from fear, which is coming from a thought that you made, right? A meaning that you made and now, or a belief that you have, and now it's creating fear in you. Like, I am on my own and the only way that money can come in is from my photography and it's not coming in, okay? So right there in that moment when you're thinking that thought, you've created the belief that that is only one way for money to come in, and you don't see it coming in that way, and your bills are due and things are starting to get scary because you can't imagine that it could come from somewhere else. So if that was a scenario, I would start to do one of two things. I would start to look outside of myself, right? Or back at my life and think about the times when actually money did come from other ways, in unexpected ways, where I didn't have to do anything for it, right? And start to reinforce those, and this is just one example, reinforce how it has worked out for me without me having to do anything. Okay? Have you all experienced somewhere in your life something working out for you in a magical way, which really isn't magical, it's normal, but in a way that felt like a miracle, that you actually didn't have to do anything? It worked out for you in your favor, even though you stressed about it the whole time. Is there anyone who's never experienced that, or has everyone experienced that? Because when you start focusing on those things, when you look at your life and you think about all those times how it worked out for you, and you're just like, I never would have dreamed that it would have worked out that way, right? That starts to help you see more of that. So the more you see it, the more you see it. Yes, it has happened. Awesome. Yes, it has happened. So the more that you see those times when you let go, or maybe you didn't let go, you were stressed and you didn't need to be, because it actually unfolded and worked out for you in your favor. You want to collect them. You want to look out for those times. You want to affirm those times, because that's training your belief system to trust the universe, to trust life, that you're not all on your own. And what you're worrying about is just one way of how something can happen, or it might not be in your hands at all, okay? The other thing that you can do when you're in worry, and I think I just wrote this on Instagram the other day. I told someone about it, but basically you want to look for where you can take your power back, right? So worrying is us pretending that we have control over something we don't. That's all it is. We're pretending we have control over something we don't. We start to worry because we think, I have to be doing something because things aren't working out the way that I think they should be right now. And that worry is us acting that out or feeling that, right? And really, there's always something that is within your control, even if it's just changing your thoughts. So Adam, another thing that you can do, thank you, Laura. My mom liked it too. I told her the other day, she's a big worrier. I come from a long line of worrying. So I know my stuff when it comes to worry, it's not pleasant. But it's really about fear, and it's really about letting go and facing that fear. So what I want you to do is face that fear and think about the worst case scenario and how you would get out of that. Again, rebuild that trust within yourself. How can you be resourceful, and how can you be resilient? How would you get out of the absolute worst case scenario? How would it all still be okay? And when you actually get that out, I suggest, I'm a writer, and I think writing is really powerful, especially when it comes to processing your emotions and taking yourself from one emotional state to the other, because it helps you have a little more clarity and focus when you're writing. So I highly recommend writing that out and really getting clear on that. Yes, you can handle it. Okay. So what's within your power? What's not within your power? Are you not doing things that are within your power that you could be doing? Are you trying to control things that are not within your power that you need to let go of? So I have seen, there's an in-depth exercise that I do in my Easy Money or Speakeasy program. I forget which one. And literally we'll be in the group call and we'll be doing this work. It's deep work but easy. And we'll be doing this work. And I've seen people let up resistance in the call, and at the same time, whatever they were resisting comes in. It can happen so fast for you. Everything is about your resistance versus allowance. That's really all it is. And when you're worrying, you are not allowing who you really are, which is an aligned, all that is being. You are part of all of it. You're an expression of all of it. And when you're in that, that's why I went to joy and excitement, because when you're in that state of feeling inspired and excited, your fear falls away, even if it has nothing to do with what you're trying to figure out. If you start going into figure out mode, how am I going to make this happen? How am I going to make this work? You've dropped out of alignment, right? If you're following what your excitement is, like you might be excited that this happens to me all the time. I'll be thinking about something like, oh, I need this, or I want to create this, or I want to do this, like something to manifest or that I think I want. And I'll just have the fleeting thought and I'll let it go. And, maybe I'll have the urge to look on YouTube for something that is completely unrelated. And in looking for that on YouTube, I see something in the sidebar that's the answer to the question that I needed. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm always following in the moment what I feel most excited to do. Even if it's not off the charts excitement, if I'm not at that level yet, it could just be, this is the most appealing out of all of these things right now, or I feel pulled to do this or nudged to do this. As I do that, even though it makes no fucking sense usually, it unfolds, okay? So that is for everyone to start trying. And it's not easy it is easy, but it can feel hard when it's new to you, even though you're actually born for it. You're born this way. It's conditioned out of us. So once you get the hang of it, once you start affirming, yes, I can do this. Yes, look how that worked out for me and I didn't even do anything, right? Or I had the perfect answer at the perfect time, or the money came in just in time, right? As you start affirming those things, you start to trust again. So it starts with, it starts with trusting yourself, right? That no matter what happens, you're going to be okay. You can see how you would get out of the worst case scenario. And it also helps to know that the universe has your back, because it totally does. And it always has. It's just having your back in ways that you may not be paying attention to, or you're focused on the opposite, right? Or the fear. So you're not allowing it. You're not allowing yourself to see it, right? But the more you see it, the more you see it. The more you see it, the more you see it. Okay? Just keep affirming, because we're all always affirming beliefs. It's what we do. We make meanings, we look for affirmation. We make meanings, we look for affirmation. And yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. No, that's not true. Right? That we're always doing that. So the control is in you making the meaning that you want to make, and then affirming it, the evidence that you want to see over and over again. Okay? And you can make a game out of it. Just happened to me yesterday. Remove the negative energy that I carried around in my mind all day. Do you mean you removed it, like let go of the resistance, and what you were aiming for came to you? Is that what you mean? because it happens to me all the time too. And I see it happen, like to the people I work with and other people. As soon as it drops, things can come. Things can be instant. You know, like my gas grills. I know I told a lot of you about that before. When I had a fleeting thought I'd like gas grills, got home and there was an email, gas grills are here, you know, in my apartment complex. Like I had no resistance to that. There was no resistance. There was nothing in the way of me allowing gas grills into my life. And you can use those things to affirm how good you are at it, right? Without, even though it's not necessarily the thing that you want right now, because that's still putting you in higher energy. Make sense, Adam? Yes. Okay, good. Ran into a video that helped me get out of that funk. Yes. It does happen. You just have to listen. You have to listen. You have to get out of your own way, basically. For years, my guides would, you know, I would have readings or even just myself, and the message was, get out of your own way, get out of your own way. And I'd be like, how am I in my own way? I'm like, you know, I didn't really understand what that meant, but really that is listening and following the inspiration. It's trusting your inspiration, trusting your nudges, your intuition, and that little voice inside you, even though it doesn't make sense, because it usually doesn't. And that's why it's the path of least resistance. That's why if you did it your way, you would have all these stupid miscellaneous steps that aren't needed, right? And it takes you from step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, down this whole big trail that you think you need to go through, when the universe is looking from an all that is perspective up here, bird's eye view, and they're like, hey, if you just go right there, your answer's there, or your money's there, or whatever's there will come in. EFT also very helpful to release limiting beliefs. Yes, EFT is great, although you really have to get into the emotion with that, because sometimes EFT can be a suppressor. But in an instant, it does release anxiety. Guys, when you face your fear and emotion, you let it go. It's really that simple. It's trying not to face and fear it that perpetuates it. You're in resistance to it. So, Adam, like if you face that fear of what, like this is what I was talking about, of what you're worried about, like it happened, you're not going to make it happen. Just let yourself for 20 minutes figure out what you would do if it did happen, and show yourself that you can. You're facing it. You can handle it. Because really all you're afraid of is a feeling. All any of you are afraid of is a feeling. You're afraid of feeling something that you think is painful. And if you drill down all of the feelings that you think you're afraid to feel, you're going to get to your deepest fear, which is feeling a sense of disconnection. Okay? So that could be physically, death, or emotionally, right? Ostracized, not accepted, kicked out by humanity. Both of those are the fear, but you can never actually be disconnected. And what's hysterical, but not really, is we spend our lives feeling and creating experiences that actually make us feel disconnected, right? So anywhere that you are stifling yourself and not allowing yourself to be who you came here to be, you are creating a sense of disconnection, because no one can ever fully know you. No, you can never fully be seen and heard. And you're actually perpetuating the feelings of disconnection and powerlessness that you're trying to avoid by trying to control all of the things out there. Make sense? So to take control, you want to take control of your use your emotion to take control of your thought. Okay. Because one of the things I do have anxiety about is money and my bank account. I always feel, oh my God, I need to be making more. And how can I do that? Freaking out about my bills and all of that. So yeah, that's going to just perpetuate. So it's about getting clear, like, have you made it this far? So here's another thing, guys. The universe is always going to give you everything that you believe you need to create what you want. Okay, so when you're on the path, following an aligned path, things magically appear out of nowhere that you need, right? You're aligned with abundance. You are abundance. When you're aligned in alignment, meaning out of duality, right? No more right, wrong, good, bad, superior, inferior. No more comparing yourself to other people. I'm not good enough. I'm better than, to mask the feeling I'm not good enough. No more duality. When you're aligned with all that is and your highest inspiration and excitement, that is where the things that you need are just going to be like boom, 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 boom. If you look at your paths, okay, you can really do this with each emotion, but just to make this really simple to understand, we're going to do it with just two. We're going to make it binary, okay? So think alignment. You are aligned. You are aligned with all that is, with the universe. You are all one. You're aligned. You're fully accepted, right? Fully aware that we are all one in a state of one-ment, which means you feel that peace, you feel that safety, you feel that acceptance, right? And you're in your most powerful state, okay? It's a relaxed state, but it can feel really energized, exciting, and inspired, or it can feel really calm and peaceful. Both works. Both are part of that balanced, aligned state. When you're following the feelings in that state, right, it's a thread. So if you look back on your life and you think about when you did follow through on the things that you were inspired to do, and you did follow through on the things that you were excited about, you'll see a thread that runs through in the future as the things that are leading you to who you really are, right? The same is true if you look at the thread from the perspective of, I am not good enough. I feel alone and powerless. I'm separate. I'm not all one, right? And that's where we get when we're not feeling aligned, right? There, if you look at, I'm doing this because I'm thinking of the emotional scale, right? So every emotion has a vibration. It's not one is better than the other. They vibrate differently, higher, faster speeds versus lower speeds. So if you're at the bottom and you're feeling despair and despondence and powerlessness, right? Because you don't believe you are enough. When you're at the top, you know your whole being, you're all of it, abundance. At the bottom, your lack, you get more lack. Again, it's a thread. So if you look back, you see via emotion, when I felt like this, you can see the thread go through, right? And it's going to continue to go through into the future if you stay on that playing field. They're like different paths, right? So you can be on the lack path or you can be on an abundant path. You actually can't not be on an abundant path, because even if you're on a lack path, you get an abundance of lack, which I've talked about before, right? But it's your lens, the lens that you're seeing things through. So if you're seeing things through, I'm all alone, I'm on my own, that lens, you're going to have lots of obstacles in your way that reinforce that to you, right? Back to you. It's the same thing if you're angry. If you're going through life with an anger lens on, right? I'm sure maybe you felt this way, or you've witnessed angry people, you know, they just want to ruin everyone's fun and lash out at people, and they're going through life with an angry lens. Anything can set them off, right? It's the lens. And the same is true if you are in a state of wholeness and you know that you're in alignment and all that is, and you're feeling that abundance. That abundance means you will have everything you need when you need it, right? And if you're feeling less than, you still get everything you need. It just doesn't feel good because you're already in the other state of being. Does that make sense, Adam and everyone? Your state of being is really all that matters. It doesn't mean, I'm not telling you not to want what you want. I want lots of things. I want you to want things. That's how we expand, right? So that's what makes us feel alive, is wanting to create new things. But when we think that those things or anything on the outside is going to make us feel a certain way, we're not in alignment. We're out of the game. It's not. Everything on the outside is neutral. So it's about feeling it first. You can still get things without feeling it first. You're just going to feel the same way. So as worried and as stressed as you are about money now, Adam, I see this all the time. I work with women, a lot of women who have been very successful, have lots of money, and they still feel insecure and scared and worried about money. Like it doesn't matter how much money you have, because that safety comes from you trusting you. Okay? You trusting the universe. The universe is going to treat you as well as you treat yourself. That's what's going to be reflected back to you, that experience. So the object doesn't matter. You can attract this water bottle whether you feel great. You can attract this water bottle whether you're worried and anxious, whether you feel scared, powerless, shitty, angry, you want to punch someone in the face. That state of being stays the same. The water bottle can't change it. Okay? That's self-care. Any questions? Did I lose you? Adam, do you understand? Preach. Thanks, Laura. Okay. Does anyone, that was a bomb. Awesome. Okay, good. I never know if I'm just getting lost in my flow state and if I lost people or if you're still there or what. So good. Glad you got something out of that. Does anyone live have any other questions? I think I have one or two email questions. Okay, if you have questions, put them in the box. I'm going to answer these email questions. Okay, so Rebecca, okay, so recently she has noticed two things that happen when she is considering, when I consider manifesting. Okay, when she considers manifesting, she notices two things that happen. Okay, so that alone right there, Rebecca, I just want to point out, no one is never not manifesting. We are always manifesting. So I think you're saying when you choose to ask for what you want based on your first question. Okay, so number one, I treat it like a genie in the lamp kind of caper and only ask for it if I really feel a pull for that thing. Example, I wouldn't ask for an extra 5K in my bank account tomorrow because that isn't something that is a priority for me right now. It would be nice, sure, but it's almost like I don't want to waste my manifesting on something that you don't care about 100%. Okay, so back to what I originally said, if anyone can relate to this, not wasting your manifesting, like you only get a certain amount of desires or the pie is only so big and you can only have a certain size slice. That is complete lack mentality, and it's infinite. It is infinite. There is plenty for everyone. There is plenty for you, and you can't not manifest. You're always manifesting. So everything in your life is a manifestation. Wouldn't you rather have it be what you prefer it to be versus what you're just thinking that you can have? Okay, so underneath that, there's probably guilt around, I'm assuming this, but there could be guilt around you're taking more than what you deserve. Okay, so look into that. Yes, this resonates. Yesterday, I realized my parents were always like, do you really need it? And I still think this way, must be desperate to have this belief. Yes. Okay, here's the thing, guys, because this goes back to something that Adam was touching on too. You decide what you need. Okay, so for me, I knew that when I was going into my business and I had a savings account from my last job, made lots of money at my last job, right? And I'm going into the online world, had a big savings account. And so initially I felt abundant, but I needed a big break between working, right? And then I needed time to get my business up and running. And my bank account was just dwindling, right? So as this happened over time, and even once I got my business going and stuff, I started noticing that when I was in that all in, all out launch mode, and I started noticing that I would restrict myself. Like if I felt abundant, like a whole bunch of money just came in, or when my bank account was full, before I started looking at it as like it was going down, I would feel normal and I would have my normal things and allow, myself to buy what I normally would buy and what I would then later, as it started to dwindle, or I felt like money was going away from me, then some of those things would feel like luxuries versus necessity. Okay. And what I learned was that we decide what's a luxury and what's a necessity. We decide this. So here's an example from my own life. I am very particular about the quality of my food. Okay. I'm very picky about food. I like to buy the highest quality food that I can. And I try not, I try not to be crazy about it where I won't eat, of course, but I do prefer high quality food. So no matter what, no matter how scared I got bank account wise, I would always it was just like, oh, well, I have to get organic. Well, I have to get grass-fed meat, or I have to have this. I need that. It wasn't a luxury. It was just a decision. It was like, this is non-negotiable. So I always had money for the things that were non-negotiable. This is just a decision. This is who I am. This is how I eat. This is who I am. So that's not going to go away. And that came from, I'm Italian. I grew up in a family that values good food. And even though at the time, growing up, we didn't know what organic and all that crap was back then, but we still valued food. Like food was number one, it was like, well, you have enough to eat. That was like the motto in my house. That was a sign of abundance and just a necessity. Like you can't not have food. My grandfather was on his deathbed, I remember. And we were all, the whole family, which was huge, sitting downstairs around a dining room table, so many of us, and just eating and drinking while he was upstairs with cancer. And my grandmother, I remember, like he died like 2 days later or whatever. We were kind of all saying our goodbyes. My grandmother sitting at the head of the table, stuffing her face, bless her heart, so cute, stuffing her face. And she's like, poor Danny, he can't even eat. And they were like, he can't even eat, crying because he could no longer eat the pepperoni that they were eating. That was the number one thing that their mind went to, because food was a value in my family. It symbolized so many things. So when my bank account, when I would get nervous about money, it was just not even a discussion in my mind. It was just like, oh yeah, I have to have good food. I have to eat well. Like that's just the way it is, right? But then there were other things that I considered luxuries. So they would start to fall away, like pedicures and manicures. I'd be like, oh, well, I guess I don't need to go get one. I could do it myself, right? How many of you start to do that, right? Or I guess I don't need to buy this one. I could just settle for this one. And those were things that I had decided I didn't really need. They were luxuries, okay? What I realized was that it was whatever I was deciding that I needed was what I was allowing for. Remember, you're in control. The universe is following you and reflecting you. So I decided I needed great food. So I would allow money for great food, or I would allow great food to come to me, or going out to dinner, or whatever it was. But then I would feel restricted, or like I couldn't have the luxury because I should be scrimping and saving, right? And then that stuff started getting cut off. And then I was like, what the hell am I doing? And that's when I started to realize I needed to flip it. So you can start, this is actually a fun game to play. And so true, oh my God, I get that. You're Italian too, aren't you, Laura? Yeah, so a fun game you guys can start to play is looking for what you actually think is a non-negotiable in your life and what you consider a luxury, okay? And you want to start making those luxuries necessities, and start small. Do it with the little things, one by one, until you build up the belief and the confidence, and you see that feedback that you can do it. Because really, guys, it's always about who you are being, your state of being, right? So I am being a person that doesn't settle for less than this kind of food that I want. But then I was also being a person who doesn't think that they could have this pedicure or whatever because I was trying to save for Facebook ads or whatever it was. I don't know. It wasn't a survival need, right? So food was a survival need to me. But the whole time, also psychic readings, they were never a luxury to me, right? I get psychic readings a lot. I haven't in a while, but I would get psychic readings a lot. even though I might have had like hardly any money in my bank account, but I would fucking buy that psychic reading, right? Because that was of value to me. It made me feel good. It, you know, whatever, I valued it for whatever reason. It was not ever a luxury to me. Education, books, never a luxury to me. I always had money for whatever I wanted to learn or needed to learn, right? Think about right now, you can start doing this right now. Put in the chat, name some things that you know off the top of your head, no matter how bad it's gotten with money, you still make sure that you have it, or you still find a way to have it. I've seen my sister be so stressed about her rent and still be taking gorgeous island vacations. Like, I've seen people do crazy things because there are certain things that you just do because it's who you are. So it's like, well, I have to have 3 vacations. Like, that's just non-negotiable to her. It's just the way her mind works. But you are in control of this. You are in control of what you have deemed a necessity. Just like there are people living in poverty who think that they can only need this much and they don't ever let themselves get out of it. Time with kids over money, but I don't get haircuts or manicures, but I want them. Right. So this is like, start with a manicure or something that doesn't feel too big of a luxury to get you into the groove of it, and pay attention to how it makes you feel. Because the better you feel, the better life gets, the better it feels. It's really that simple. I know it feels hard sometimes, but it really is that simple. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on this Q&A call where I'm just teaching? Which is totally cool. But I want to make sure I get all your questions answered. Okay, if no one has any questions about that, I'm going to go on to her second piece. So her second question is, I consider all of the ways it could be delivered. So it's kind of following up her first question. Consider all the ways it could be delivered to scam for anything I don't want. Okay, so now she's dropping into fear, and she's saying she feels like it's a be careful for what you wish for type of thing. So like she wants, hold on. I don't want to manifest a dream home if it means it was paid out by her husband's life insurance or anything morbid like that. I even hate writing that, but wanted to give an honest example of what goes through my mind. I'm so careful in my manifesting this way. Considering your example about carpets, I know you know what I'm talking about. Am I being too conscious with my manifesting? It's not that you're being too conscious, you're being too scared. So I know this can be a hard pill to swallow for many people, but there truly is no negative. There is no evil. There is no bad. There is no wrong. There is only positive. That is a choice for you to look at life that way. And when you're in a state of alignment, and all that is the perspective that helps you get there. That is the perspective that helps you release resistance. Okay, so if you're thinking of something, have you ever heard the term love what is? That is basically allowing what is. And the way to do that is to allow yourself to find the value, the learning, the lesson, whatever the situation is or is happening, to allow that, right, to be a benefit for you, okay? And it takes away the resistance to it, because I'm saying this because as I read her thing, and I'm not saying this to scare you, Rebecca, or anyone for that matter, but this is a prime example of being in resistance to something we don't want. What you resist persists. So the universe, you can't lie to the universe. You can't lie to the universe. It's reflecting your vibration. Okay, so if you're like, I really want this, but I don't want this to happen. I don't want this to happen. I don't even want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. You're in resistance to it, instead of saying, okay, let me face this fear right now, even though it hasn't happened. Just like what I was saying with Adam, what is this fear? Let me diffuse it. Let me show myself I can handle it. That actually releases your focus on it. Am I making sense? Are you guys clear on this? Because this is super important. It all comes down to allowing versus resisting. And what connection, always no blame. I literally attract what I actively don't want every time. This is why you manifest what you don't want. And Rebecca, I'm not saying that you're going to manifest. That's not what I'm saying at all. The morbid thing that you were talking about. But I'm saying, because it's about a state of being too. There's a feeling, Rebecca, underneath what you are afraid of that you don't want to feel. And you're in resistance to that feeling. So you don't have to, and this goes for you too and anyone, you don't have to necessarily put yourself in a place where you're visualizing the morbid thing, but you do want to get clear on the feeling that you're afraid you would feel if the morbid thing happened. That is the thing that you want to become friends with. That is what you want to allow, okay? An emotion is literally a chemical cocktail that's run, just like I talked about with the anxiety, it's running through your body, creating an experience in your body. It's energy in motion running through you. And the only way it can run through you is if you allow it. When you resist it, it persists. It's there, right? Even though you're trying so hard to pretend it's not, the universe is like, sorry, girl, it's totally there, okay? And it doesn't, again, mean it's the what that you're trying to avoid. It's the feeling. So if she's trying to avoid the feeling of being alone, or, you know, the feeling of grief or the feeling of loss, that's what you're really afraid of. That's what you want to look into and think like, okay, I can handle that feeling. You know, I went through this at this point in my life and I handled it. Or I, you know, have been through this and I handled it. Or if I was feeling that, this is how I would handle it. When you start getting in touch with that, you're setting yourself free. Okay. So it's really not about the what. So for you, Rebecca, I think the conscious part is excellent because you're becoming aware of whether or not you're in resistance or allowing. So I applaud the conscious manifesting. You want to be conscious about your manifesting. But what you're becoming aware of is whether or not you are in fear and lack, or if you actually are in a state of allowing what wants to be born for you, what wants to be created by you, and alignment. Okay. And another thing that you can do if it makes you feel better, really just to make yourself feel better in the moment when you're asking for something, is start tacking on for the highest good of everyone. But everything is really always for the highest good of everyone. It really is. And another thing, and I'm not saying this again about Rebecca, your husband, or anything like that, putting horrible thoughts in people's heads. What I'm about to say is really true. I have, since I became a medium, since I started working with psychic mediums and then became a medium myself and had all kinds of crazy things happen to me, it completely changed my view on death. So death, we would look at as a bad thing. It's actually not. That's why, I'm not going to get into all of those details, but that's why I keep going back to, it's the emotion that we're afraid of. It's not the death of someone we love that we're afraid of. We're afraid of the feeling that we would feel if we lost that attachment to them, right? The grief, the loss, the aloneness, you know, never being able, feeling like we couldn't have a relationship with them again, or feeling disconnected from them, but you never are. Okay. You never are. You were all one. Yes. And it's also kind of scary thinking about it. And that makes sense. That makes sense. But so Adam, are you thinking about the what? Are you thinking about the scenario you're afraid of? Are you thinking about the feeling that you would feel? Because I don't want you to think about it. I want you to feel about it, guys. Use the scenario to find the feeling that you're afraid to feel. The result and the feeling of what if. Yep. So it doesn't feel good not because it's bad, because it's a guidance system that's telling you we're going to give you this emotional sensation, this emotional feeling right now to let you know that you are thinking thoughts and believing things that are actually not in alignment with who you really are and who you came here to be. Make sense? It does. It actually, even below safety, Laura, comes down to love. Yeah. So like when I started in the beginning, Laura, I'm going to go into that really quick. When I started in the beginning, talking about self-care being a result of self-love. Self-love is acceptance, right? Acceptance of the self helps you be able to accept everyone out there and what's going on. The more that you're accepting on the inside, the more that you can be accepting of the outside, okay? And what that does, when we don't have that acceptance from whatever happened in our childhood, when we made the meaning, no one's fault, we made that meaning that we're less than in some way, or unworthy, or not whole in some way, that creates a feeling of being unsafe in the world. So there are 3 human needs. They're often taught as safety, love, and belonging. But what I've learned as I did my own work and created my products and programs, that it's really more about love leading to safety, leading to connection instead of belonging. So it's when we don't feel that acceptance on the inside, or we don't, which then can be reflected back to us by not feeling accepted on the outside, like we can't be who we really are in whatever way that is, we then don't feel safe in the world. And it's very hard for us to trust ourselves, right? We can no longer trust ourselves to follow our excitement and inspiration and trust the universe, because we've made a meaning that we're no longer acceptable and no longer safe. So it becomes about the outside. And that's what then closes us off and makes us have that guard up trying to protect ourselves. So now we can't connect. We can't truly connect with others because we're too scared to let ourselves be seen and heard as we really are, because we've made the meaning that we're not accepted. Make sense? Yes. Awesome. Okay. Let me make sure I got the question. Okay, yeah, so number 2, try what I said, Rebecca, and you can always add for the highest good of everyone involved. I've done that too, just to whatever makes you feel better. But I just feel like when you are manifesting, you're always manifesting, but when you are asking for what you want from a place of alignment versus one of the other lenses, it can't not be from a place of truest integrity. So I don't worry about that so much anymore. But like I said, if it makes you feel better, definitely put the intention out for the highest good of everyone. Visualize you and your husband in the house together. That's another thing that you could do, or whatever, and a house can come from a gazillion different ways. So try not to beat yourself up too much about it, but it's really about the feeling. Okay. Any more questions before we wrap up? Okay. If someone has a question and you're trying to type a question, let me know that you're typing a question. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap up. Okay. I'm taking that as a wrap up. All right. You guys have been awesome. Thank you for coming. And I probably will be doing one of these again soon. I'm just doing them as I'm inspired to. So I will see you soon. Oh, wait, just very thankful for you and your work. Oh, I'm so thankful for you, Laura. That is very nice. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to wrap up. I hope you have a wonderful day, and just pay attention because I'll be doing another one soon. That's basically what I was trying to get to. Thank you, Fran. New easy peasy. All right. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.